All right, cool. All right, so a little bit about me. I've been with Quad for 19 years. So Quad's a 53-year-old company. We've been in this big transformation for about 20 years. So I've had a front seat to that transformation kind of the whole way, which has been absolutely a blast. I currently lead our technology teams and product development. And today my audacious goal is to talk about how AI can actually impact you. And I say audacious because one of my greatest pet peeves is when people throw out a word like AI and they're just like, man, AI is going to change the world. And you're like, yeah. And what we're going to do what with it exactly, right? So for perspective, we've quickly established a really great team focused on this topic. And we held an event January, feels like a long time ago now, January of this year, actually. And we had a lot of energy around AI, a lot of testing going on around AI. We got our AI business unit champions, every member leader of our different areas of our business. We had 500 ideas. 500. How does a $3 billion company with 15,000 employees and 3,000 customers execute on 500 ideas? Like you got to organize. You got to have a strategy. You got to build that strategy. So super excited to share a glimpse of kind of where we're focusing on this space. So the first is, and it's been talked about this morning around just the power of personalization. And as I've teed up, I like to hold on to something. I'm kind of I was saying earlier, I only recently found out I was a nerd. I didn't think I was a nerd, but turns out I am. So, you look at math, which, I always kind of ground everything in math, right? And we looked at a lot of statistics for this particular presentation. And in typical form, I made a million edits last night. And I picked out two things. And the two things are, when you deliver personalized content, you're delivering 4x greater response rate. And that might vary, right? I mean, depends on the specifics. But what we're often seeing is 4 times greater conversion with personalization. And I changed the name of this slide to it's a multiplier effect. Why? Because if you can engage at 4 times greater rate and you can improve retention by 15%, that's amazing. And that's a huge multiplier when you think about lifetime value of a customer over time. So how do you do that? Some of my colleagues and I have had long debates about the simplicity or complexity of content at scale. And this is an area that my team spends a tremendous amount of time focusing on. And I asked Google Gemini last night, what is content at scale? What does that actually mean? And, I thought the response was pretty excellent. So it says, I know this is probably hard to read, so I'll read it to y'all. Content at scale means creating a large amount of volume of high quality content consistently and efficiently. I thought that was pretty succinct and that's pretty accurate. Now here's the challenge. This process map is the summary of an actual process map for one of our largest customers who has about 50,000 SKUs, 10 different brands. We sat down with them and said, okay, how are you managing content at scale? We do their photography, we do a lot of their production, we do a lot of creative services with them. And we sat down and we really mapped all this out a few years ago. They took one look at this map and they said, it's actually a lot more complicated than that, and we need help. And when you think about content at scale, this customer has 50,000 SKUs. We have some with 100,000 SKUs. I was talking earlier with Aaron, a customer we're working on, they have 1.2 million SKUs, right? And you think about personalization at scale. Google has some amazing products. Other platforms have amazing products. But what you need is good quality data and good quality workflow. And that's a lot of hard work. And that's the area that we're really focused on. And candidly, it's not the most fun thing to talk about. It's fun to sit up and look at YouTube videos and go, man, we totally nailed it. We had engagement. We sold pizza versus poke, and we're nailing it. But it takes a lot of hard work to get yourself into that position. And that's kind of the area that we're really focused on. So in other words, to put it in simple terms, I didn't know this was an abbreviation. Did anyone else know this? GIGO? I don't know. That's how you pronounce it. Apparently, I said, the theme of when I was working with my team, I said, I want to focus on garbage in, garbage out, high level, right? Apparently that's abbreviated GIGO. But when you think about, thinking about personalization at scale, when you have the wrong narrative, when you have the wrong brand voice, when you're focusing on the wrong audiences, it just isn't going to work. When you have 1.2 million SKUs and you don't have a tight process, it's going to be messy and it's going to be inefficient. So let me give you an example. Actually, that's the next slide. So before that, here's kind of what we believe at a high level. So I said we had 500 different ideas. And how do we boil that down to like a differentiation, right? As a company, as a marketing services company. So we said, you know, AI is available anywhere, anytime to anybody. Raise your hand. Has everybody in the room at least played with AI a little bit, right? And it's not that hard, right? You can build interesting models. You can build interesting workflows. But I would submit to you that there are a lot of point situations. Like, okay, I went to ChatGPT and I created a job spec. I went to ChatGPT and I asked about a strategy, or I asked about a customer, I asked about a pitch. Great, do that, keep doing that. But when you think about how do you institutionalize and build the entire workflow for 1.2 million SKUs, that's really hard. And you have to think about the entire infrastructure. So second thing is differentiation is and will be critical. I think about, I'm a big outdoors person, if you saw that on my profile. So I like to think about, you know, outdoor companies. I love REI. We work a lot with LL Bean, love LL Bean. You know, you think about outdoor companies just in general. And they go to AI platforms to help them with content and strategy. If you don't have the history, you know, LL Bean has a long legacy. I don't know if it's quite as long as Shelmar, but the long history, and they're proud of it, and it's unique, and it's distinctly different than REI. How do you ingest that voice, and how do you overlay Dean's strategy from a targeting perspective in the cleanest way so that you're unique and you stand out? You might be selling the exact same products in some cases, but doing it authentically through your brand voice is critical. And all of that really manifests itself in building a workflow that is scalable and can really take all of that complexity and really build it into true automation at scale. So at the end of the day, we believe, you know, optimized workflow and modern AI can fuel successful personalization at scale, right? So let's have a little fun. Dan, I didn't plan this, but he's actually wearing the shoe that we ran this test on. So the Nike Air Jordan 1, we ran a test. So we said, okay, model, tell us about the Air Jordan 1. And we didn't give it anything more. So just tell us about the Air Jordan 1. This is awful, right? We're all marketers. No one would ever use this description. So it says, the Air Jordan 1 mids shoe is very stylish and well made. That's exciting, right? I'm going to lean into that. The iconic design looks great for daily use. This is just awful. But it's not for performance. It's more focused as overall great shoe for those looking for stylish footwear. Dan, you're very stylish. With a touch of athletic appeal. You don't play basketball in those, right? You just go to work, right? That's the purpose. So then we did another test. We said, okay, let's try again. Let's tell the model, like, who is Nike? And by the way, this is all mock data. This is just test. This was not endorsed by Nike, not approved by Nike, etc. Just a test. So we said, okay, who is Nike? And we all know Nike. I mean, Nike is one of the most impressive brands in the world. So we told the model a little bit about Nike. It's empowering, aspirational, assertive, confident, direct, unapologetically bold. That's Dan, right? So then we said, okay, now that we have a little bit more information, look at the difference. Everything else is the same. The model is the same. The prompt is the same. The only thing we did was give the model a little bit of authenticity of who Nike is. Game changer alert. I recently copped the Air Jordan 1 mid shoes and they're pure fire. Now I'm leaning in, right? That's everything else is the same. The only thing is that we taught it a little bit about the Nike brand. From the moment I unboxed them, I felt their style radiating confidence. These kicks are impeccably crafted, exuding quality in every stitch. While their iconic design steals the show, they're perfect for rocking for daily and unmatched style. Keep in mind, they're more about making a statement than focused performance. Get ready to turn heads and slay the streets in these babies. Lace up and step into your greatness, Dan. Hashtag Nike Power. That's pretty amazing. The only thing that changed was that one, basically a paragraph telling an AI model, this is what we're focused on for our audience and this is who our brand is. So how do you do that at scale? This is, we earlier this year, we executed a partnership with Google that we're super excited about. And we're going to have some kind of first releases, this probably fourth quarter of this year. But we're looking at this holistically. This is a grossly oversimplified view, but at a high level, the importance here is we're integrating our photography processes with how our customers take in supplier data, with brand voice, which you just saw, and marketing briefs, right? Like that, the brand voice more or less doesn't change. It might change every decade, give or take. But then there's marketing briefs and there's campaigns that happen. How do we feed all that information into a process and into a system so that we can deliver 1.2 million SKUs at scale, accurately, on time? So in partnership with Google, Quad has been in the business of building workflow solutions for about 25 years. So I've kind of been on that ride most of that time. And our latest and greatest is called Content X. We named it Content X before, Elon named X and whatnot. So I think we were a little leading edge there. But the reason why we said Content X is that it's an omni-channel content management system that aims to do all of the upfront hard work that we talked about so that you can build content at scale and execute across all channels. So let's have a little bit more fun. Back to Nike. With multimodal models that are out there today, including Google Gemini, it's just amazing. It's going even further. This model, the only two inputs were the shoe and the brand voice. And now it's going, from an image to text, right? Which is even more amazing. So you think about, as you're ingesting assets into your organization, as you're shooting base product copy, this is auto-magically taking care of your metadata tagging challenges that your team's probably been dealing with forever. And building that, not only just to tag it, which is a very tactical task, and it's a painful task no one wants to do, but it's going beyond tagging. It's not just tagging, but it's solving real problems by actually taking all that information and helping to personalize right out of the gate before any human even touches the process. So the only two inputs here were the image and the brand voice. I'm not going to read you all of this, but how much work did this just take out of the organization? People, getting to-dos on copy editing, writing all of that information about the brand, the purpose, the model, etc. And then picking up on passions and picking up on segmentation, like what Dean talked about earlier. Then we take that exact same shoe, that exact same base information, and then we say, all right, now I need to optimize for Instagram for male competitive trail runners. And the message that we get, unleash your competitive edge with Nike Pegasus 5, the ultimate trail running shoe for champions. Pretty good, right? Now this shoe also very commonly is sold to men just looking for a comfortable shoe to walk down the street, right? So we take the exact same inputs, we take the exact same image and optimize that, experience unmatched comfort and style with the Nike Pegasus Trail 5, your go-to shoe for everyday wear. So those are two examples, right? And Dean showed you potentially dozens of examples. I'm not going to go through slide by slide for dozens of examples, but what I want you to take away is, if you can think about it and if you can use data up front to understand how to optimally reach your customers, and you say, and Dean's team says, all right, empirically, we think these are the 12 segments you need to go after. We now have the infrastructure with workflow, data, and AI to stitch it all together in a way that is faster speed to market than we've ever seen, at a higher level of personalization that we've ever seen as an industry, which I'm really excited about, in case you didn't tell by now. So I'll just show you a couple quick slides here. I've already kind of talked about what Content X is and how it's integrated with the Google Suite. The other cool thing that I'll say is part of this is also, getting into the hard work of, we have omni-channel campaigns happening. So we have radio campaigns happening at the same time as we have YouTube campaigns, at the same time that we have an Instagram campaign. How do we keep all those themes in sync? How do we make sure that the customer experience is consistently great across those channels? And so what we have here is the ability to see all of those campaigns, all of those channels at scale in one place. And this is kind of, to be honest, when we brought this forward, we're like, it's just a marketing calendar. When we start showing this to customers, like, oh my God, that's the first time that our organization can actually see all of our channels in real time. And to be honest, we didn't really realize it was as powerful it is. But When you think about all of that coordination, it's quite a powerful endeavor. So then just a couple screens I'll show you here. As all that data is flowing in, we can store it. We can store all of that data, whether it's competitive runners, whether it's comfort-focused individuals, whatever that data point is as it's flowing in, whether we have 10,000 SKUs or 1.2 million SKUs, it's delivering into that workflow, and then ultimately manifesting itself on the publishing side of the equation and deploying into an omnichannel world. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a glimpse about what we're focused on. At the end of the day, it's about content at scale and doing the hard work to integrate into your vision from a segmentation and personalization standpoint. Because when you start to multiply this 1.2 million SKUs times how many channels, times how many segments, you get to billions of permutations pretty quickly. And it's hard work, but it's doable. And we're here to help.